Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa ashabi ajma'in amma ba'd. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi zidni ilma. Astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum wa atubu ilayk. Astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum wa atubu ilayk. Astaghfirullah alladhi la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum wa atubu ilayk. Alhamdulillah, tonight bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, as we know, is our special Q&A, question and answer session, and this is like second time. Before we find that we had it on March, alhamdulillah, before Ramadan, and also if you got the description below in the description, which was in that last special Q&A, we had said that we are going to have a second Q&A on June or July. And alhamdulillah, we find that when it was June, we find that we had a little bit of things that we have to do. Some few lectures of Ramadan has gone series, and we talked a little bit about Ramadan has gone, what should we be doing, and alhamdulillah, that was enough. And after that we went on a little bit about tafsir course. Now inshallah this Sunday, alhamdulillah, today, which is alhamdulillah shukrullah, 23rd July 2017, alhamdulillah, which can be the last day of Shawwal, alhamdulillah. So we find that 1438. Okay, so very much importantly, as we mentioned before, that you should be asking question. There's a method of asking question, and we told you before that there is a method of asking question in a way that is best. So bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, many brothers and sisters, they asked question, and if I go back, alhamdulillah, in my WhatsApp, I find that there are some of the question that I have already deleted. So in that case, I have not been able to answer all of your questions. But alhamdulillah, to those people who ask question, I usually reply to them immediately. And if I don't know, I just say to them that I don't know about that question, and maybe you can ask someone who is more knowledgeable than me, or I myself, I go to one of the scholars and I ask them about it, and inshallah I respond to the questioner. So alhamdulillah, in this July 2017 special Q&A, inshallah, I was asked about 11 questions. So alhamdulillah, tonight we are going to be answering 11 questions. And first of the questions is a very important question. So before even I go to the question, those people who are in WhatsApp, I can really say that you'll only get the audio format. But those people who are in YouTube, alhamdulillah, I think so you can see that there's a visual display of our first question. So alhamdulillah, I have written the first question. So we are going to start bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So the first question that our brother he asked, he said that he wanted an explanation of a hadith of Imam Nawawi rahimullahu ta'ala, who you find that he wrote many books, and he said that he wanted the Arbaeen and wanted an explanation of the hadith, which is number 8 of Arbaeen and which is the 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi rahimullahu ta'ala. So inshallah, what I'll do is that I'll read it in Arabic, that hadith, and then try to explain it bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. So it says, An Ibn Umar radiyallahu anhu أنا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قال أمرت أن أقاتل الناس حتى يشهدوا أن لا إله إلا الله وأن محمدا رسول الله ويقيموا الصلاة ويؤتوا الزكاة فإذا فعلوا ذلك أصاموا مني دماءهم وأموالهم إلا بحق الإسلام وحسابهم على الله تعالى رواه Bukhari or Muslim. In this hadith on the authority of Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, he narrated that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that I have been ordered to fight against people until they testify that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam is the Messenger of Allah, and until they perform the prayers and pay the zakat, and if they do so they will have gained protection from me for their lives and property, unless they do acts that are punishable in accordance with Islam, and the reckoning will be with Allah the Almighty. Al-Bukhari and Al-Muslim. This hadith, it is now talking about the sanctity of a Muslim, and I'll just have a brief commentary because find that we have a lot of questions here to answer, and it cannot take a lot of time. So find that the first thing is that the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned this hadith with a different wording in many different occasions to show its importance. So here the Prophet ﷺ, he is using a different way of narrating his hadith. Another thing also we learn from the hadith is that why we should be fighting, when we should be fighting, and when it is deemed permissible for a blood of a Muslim to be spilled. And we find the Prophet ﷺ, he said that I have been ordered, and he did not mention who ordered him, but it is understood that the order, it came from Allah as there is no higher authority over the Prophet ﷺ except Allah. So that's now the first part of the hadith. You can see that I have been ordered, and who ordered the Prophet ﷺ? It is Allah. That is what we understand from it. And another thing is, so that is the first explanation of that part. And also you find that the scholars, they have differed on who the people that the Prophet ﷺ he said he had been ordered to fight. And the majority opinion is that they are the disbelievers, and the people of the book, they are excluded from this, as they are eligible to pay that jizya, which you find that is a form of tax, which is paid by the Jews and the Christians, where you find that when they pay that jizya tax, then they are allowed to live in a Muslim state without any problem. But if they don't pay, then they are going to be removed. So they need to pay that tax, that jizya tax, in order to live in Islamic state. So that is what is referred to as the people here. Then the objective now of that jihad, we have to know that it is not to kill people, but it is to make the word of Allah the highest, either by people accepting Islam or by paying the jizya to the Muslims, so that the people who believe in Allah and they establish His laws, they are in higher authority. So you are mentioning that we have to know the objective of jihad here, and it is not to kill now the people. No, we just don't do jihad so that to kill the lives of innocent people. No, that is not the reason, but it's just to make the word of Allah just the highest, either by people accept Islam or by paying the jizya to Muslims, so that people who believe in Allah and who established His laws, they are in a high authority. So what they're saying is that if those people who you find that they are not paying the jizya tax, or they are not Muslims, then it is against them who we find that we do jihad. And there is a time, because we have said that we learn from this hadith why we fight. Yeah. So why we fight, it is not to kill people, it is just to make the word of Allah the highest. Okay, that is the reason. Also we have to know that it is a right in Islam that zakah, it is taken from the people and given to the poor. And when Muslims, they stopped paying zakah after the Prophet ﷺ's death, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, he fought them for it, as they had committed an action of apostasy. So you can see that also Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, when he just became the Amirul Mu'mineen, he became now the leader of the Muslims after the Prophet's death, then he ordered now that people now to pay zakat. But you find that the people, they stopped paying. So they committed, when you stop paying zakat, you are committing an act of apostasy. Sorry, you are you're doing shirk in a way like that. You're doing shirk. Or we can say that this person, he is not following Allah's commands. And when a command comes from Allah's it means that it is wajib. And zakah, it is wajib in itself. So if people, they don't pay this zakah, then you find that we have to fight against those people. That is what we have been taught by the life of Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu. And some scholars, they say that fasting and Hajj, they are not included in the list here because it is much harder to implement due to the many excuses available to allow someone not to fast or go to Hajj, and that it is hard to know if someone has stopped fasting or doesn't believe in going to Hajj. So also I find that why Hajj and fasting is not included, because there are excuses in it. Okay, so someone may say that, I have a very bad disease, so I cannot fast. I have a disability, so I cannot go to Hajj. I don't have enough money to take me to Hajj, so they don't do. So that's why I find that it's not put into the list of fighting against or doing jihad against. And other scholars, they say Salah and Zakah, they are mentioned because they are more important examples. So Salah is important. If people, they don't do it, then they are committing the act of apostasy. So really we should be aware of that. And also we find that the Muslim's blood is more sacred than the day of Arafah, the month of Dhul Hijjah, and the Makkah itself. And the hadith, it ended with, and their reckoning will be with Allah the Exalted, to tell us that we carry out rulings in this life based on what is apparent and not based on assumption. What I'm saying is that, this is a very important point, that we base our rulings on what is our apparent, what we see. You see that the Muslims, they are coming now to pray their salah in the masjid. We don't check on the intention. Maybe the intention, maybe it is to not to pray, or that just doing riyah. No, we're just seeing the apparent thing. Okay, we are saying that this person is praying salah, then we consider that this person, alhamdulillah, is a Muslim, and this person is following the commandments of Allah Azza wa Jal. And we have to know that in the day of judgment, Allah Azza wa Jal, He will deal with everyone in a just way. So if someone is apparently a Muslim, but we feel he's not, we let him be, and Allah Azza wa Jal will be the just ruler on the day of judgment, and will recompense that person with what they truly deserve. What benefit we take from this hadith is that we fight to make Allah's word the highest word. Allah's laws, they are the highest laws, and they are implemented. Another benefit is that we fight when there is a Muslim ruler leading us into the fight, and must never attack someone without the consent of the valid Muslim leader. And hence this type of jihad cannot be performed due to our own individual decisions, and it is only initiated by the leaders of the Muslims. So here is another important thing, that we only fight when there is a leader, a Muslim leader, and that happened in a Muslim state, a Muslim country, where you find that the Muslim leader is the one who will tell us if we need to fight or we need not to fight. Okay, so the decision of the Muslim leader. Also, another thing is that it is permissible to spill the blood of a Muslim if they do not say the Shahada, or they refuse to pray, or they refuse to pray to pay zakah. But again, this can only be done with the permission of the Muslim leader in a Muslim country, and must never be carried out based on an individual's own decision. This is again very much important, and I'm mentioning this again because this is what a benefit we gain from this hadith. So we don't do the jihad the way we want. We do it from the consent of a Muslim leader, and if he says now that the Muslims who are not praying should be killed, then we do like that. But nowadays it is not done, as we don't have like a Muslim country which is specified on those acts. So it's a condition also to physically say the Shahada to become a Muslim, and also you have to know that the jizya is only accepted from the people of the book. And some scholars, they also added the Majus, who are the Zoroastrists. Okay. Becoming a Muslim, it protects one's blood and money, as it is not to be touched if they are a Muslim. And also action that we carry out must always be based on what is apparent and not on what we assume. So it is very important. And when we know that fasting and Hajj, when we mention this hadith, we have to know a lot about the deen of Islam, because people who are doing these like terrorist organization, they are there, like the Boko Haram and the ISIS, like that. They are not understanding this hadith in the best way. That is not the reasons they have made these things. They are causing terror within the Muslims' minds, and this is not correct. A Muslim killing another Muslim without any reason, there is a big problem. There is no even Muslim leader for this terrorist organization. And again, also find that this terrorist organization, they have not yet understood the deen of Islam correctly. So they need to go back and learn the deen of Islam. So that is question number 1, my brother he asked. Okay, the second question, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, is that are women allowed to preach in public? Are women allowed to preach in public? And regarding this question, we have to know that we have seen some of the Muslims scholars, also some of the women who are teaching or who are preaching in public. We have to know that few scholars and yet many religious Muslims, they claim that the women scholars, they should not teach mixed gathering openly as the men scholars do, and that if she does, she should do so behind a curtain. So that is what the scholars say. If a woman wants to teach, want to preach in public, public, what we say is that it has a mixed gathering. There's men and there's women, all of them too. So they say that it should happen in behind a curtain. And it is also suggested in evidence against this, that women should generally stay at home, and that her face as well as her voice is of her aura. and it should not be seen or heard. That's another point also to be noted here, that her voice is also an aura. So scholars say it because people, when you hear the voice of a woman, you become attracted to her, especially men. They become attracted to only the voice of a woman. When you hear it in the phone or you hear it in somewhere else, so we have to be really aware of these things. Also, you find that should it be seen or heard, that voice, it is also something that it's a dispute between the scholars, okay? And for those who came to Islam, or they learned or they converted into Islam, they ask usually this question, like the women especially, they just ask question, why is it like that? So alhamdulillah, tonight we are going to answer your questions. We go to the commentary of Surah Al-Ahzab, which is in chapter or Surah 33. And alhamdulillah, we find that Surah Ahzab, it is themed contextually with many verses of a few pages which address the pronoun for the female plural. You find that these are always referring back to the wives or the women of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Azwajun Nisa, okay? Azwajun Nisa and Nabi. Whereas the word female believers, we find that it is mu'minat. Mu'mina is the female believers. And when talk about the wives of the women of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, here Azwajun Nisa and Nabi. You find that when you see this word, which is mu'mina, it is only used once at the very end of the context in the verse, enjoining the modest covering of Islam, which is referred to as hijab in English. This can be confusing because the verse of hijab, it is not referring to the modest clothing. Rather, it was an injunction for us to ask the wives of the Prophet ﷺ from behind a curtain when visiting their homes. We find that the first occurrence of the feminine plural pronoun is in dealing with the Prophet ﷺ wives, desire for extra wealth and provision, and Allah tells them that if they desire this worldly life, then the Prophet ﷺ, he should divorce them, whereas if they want the hereafter, then that is the reward for the exceptional Muslim. And that is if you go to verse 28. Tell your wives that if they want this life and its adornments, can go there and read it. Find that we have a lot of questions. That's why I don't want to take a lot of time here. We have to know that the next time that pronoun also it is referring back to specific warning against the wives of Prophet ﷺ from sexual immorality, which will bring a double punishment. So that's the Prophet's wives. If you go to verse 30 in Surah Ahzab, you can see it. Then there's also another verse it talks about the point of the whole issue, that the wives of Prophet, you are not like any other women. If you are to be pious, then do not speak in a soft, sweet tone, which could lead a person with a diseased heart to get the wrong idea. Live in tranquility in your homes, and don't make a spectacle of yourselves as the women did before Islam. That is in verse 32 to 33. And this now, it refers to the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And these verses now, it is clearly denoting the special status of the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and how they carry a much more specific and cautious ruling, As we saw in the previous verses, you find that the deeds of the wives of the Prophet ﷺ, they carry double the impact, and so naturally the law, it carries double the seriousness. And there are clearly unique rules to the wives, such as the fact that they do not inherit from the Prophet ﷺ. And also another ruling for the wives of the Prophet ﷺ is that no man can marry them after. And according to many commentators and jurists, also they should stay home, and if visited, they should speak from behind a curtain. So you have seen that we have mentioned three rulings, which is specific to the wives of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And the first we have mentioned here is that the wives of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, what they should do is that they cannot inherit from the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Number 2 is that no man can marry them after the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has died. Number 3 is that they should stay home, and if they are visited, they should speak behind a curtain. Now, many scholars, when they saw that verse, they say that the women, they should not work. Yeah. And others, they say that there is no problem for the women to work. And now when it comes to preaching, again we have opinions. We find that when we go ahead, just going ahead and ahead, it goes and just talk about the spirituality, equality between women and men, and it goes ahead. If you go in Surah Al-Ahzab, it talks about matters clearly moving away from the specificity of either the wives of the Prophet ﷺ or the women believers, and it picks back up again after admonishing the Prophet ﷺ and his wives about the general rules of their relationship. And again we have reference to the plural feminine pronoun, again referring to the Prophet's wives. So if you go to verse 50 of Surah Azab, we have permitted you to be with your wives to whom you have given the bridal dowry. So immediately following that is the verse of the hijab, and let us look at the verse and see who it was referring to, and the scholarly difference of interpretation, and what may have led to such difference, while it will probably seem plain and evident to most readers, or to most people. When we see such type of verses, it becomes sometimes difficult for someone to come and interpret it. But alhamdulillah, tonight inshallah we're going to explain it in a fantastic manner. So it says, dear believers, don't hang around the Prophet ﷺ house hoping to be invited for a meal. If you are invited, then go and eat, but don't linger around too long afterwards hoping to talk, as that often annoying the Prophet ﷺ, and he was shy to tell you to leave. God is not shy to say the truth. If you ask them, which is now the feminine plural, then do so from behind a curtain. Okay, that is purer for you, for your hearts. So that's for the masculine now plural comes for your hearts. Okay, and theirs, which is feminine plural. You must not annoy the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, nor should you ever marry his wives after he passes. Indeed, these are of the most serious of affairs to Allah. So that's in verse 53 of Surah Azab. So you can see that I'm going very much fast, or I will have explained in a detailed manner. But if we go ahead, I want to still know Surah Azab. It has a lot of teachings. And alhamdulillah, for those people who are in tafsir course, you should not be worrying, because we're going to go into this in a detailed manner. Okay. 3 verses later, the surah reveals the injunction for the modest covering the women they are to wear, and Allah Jal, He felt it necessary to specify the wives of Prophet ﷺ, his daughters, and all the believing women, so as to leave no doubt about his legislative intention. That is, if you go to 59, it says that tell your wives, your daughters, and the believing men to cover their entire bodies with clothing. So this was the last verse in the surah using the plural feminine pronoun, in which we see all previous verses specifying that to the wives of the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. Now, as you can see, we have seen under that context and linguistic is addressing the wives of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, although you find that when talking about the verse which is saying staying at home, okay, for the women, although some scholars they say that it should address all other female believers as well, since they are our example, because you find that if you see Aisha radiallahu anha, the other wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are the role models for the Muslim women believers, the mu'mina. Okay, but the scholars they say that the women also, they should stay at home, they should not work. I've not yet finished, my brother and sister, we are still going on, so don't think that we are finished. I've not said that you just stay at home, no. Alhamdulillah, we are going on, we are trying to understand in a similar manner. Go to Surah Al-Ahzab and read it carefully and understand it. That is now what is required for us. So we're still going on. So the scholar, they are saying like that because of the fact that the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they are our example, then also this ruling, it comes to the women, the mu'minah. So other scholars now, they held that the position of that specificity of the text to the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as both a specific admonition and to clarify their special status. That is what the other scholars they say. So there are two opinions here. One opinion says that this verse of the women who they should stay at the home and they should talk behind a curtain, it only refers to those who are the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and it doesn't refer to the whole believers. But the other scholars say that no, it refers to the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That is true, but also together with that, it refers to the mu'min also, as because they find that the wives of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, they are the role models. So you can see that there is two different opinions. Now inshallah, I want to just interpret these verses. We go to At-Tabri, and he said that these verses, it indicates that the verse about staying in the house except for need, it is for all women. Okay, this verse that says that the women, they should stay in their houses except for need, it is for all women. And he narrates many narrations of circumstances in which the verse of hijab was revealed, all of which indicate it is specific to the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And he does mention one opinion of Qatada radiallahu anhu, that it was for all homes to have a curtain between strange men and the women of the house. And Ibn Kathir also, he follows Imam At-Tabri commentary. So alhamdulillah, that was At-Tabri rahimullahu ta'ala. And as you can see, that the explanation that he said is very much clear, and it says that the Muslim women, they are allowed to go out of their homes except for need, and this is for all the women, not only specific to the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but the other but that narration that he mentioned of the verse of hijab and all other things that we mentioned here before, it indicates it is specific to the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But also he mentioned one opinion, as we mentioned here, Qatada radiyallahu anhu rahimahullah ta'ala, that it was for all homes to have that curtain. So we find that when we talk about the women and men, and when we can see that this interpretation is saying that when a woman he wants to talk with the man, there should be a barrier between them. So let us see, is speaking in the phone allowed for men and women? It is allowed, because there's a barrier. The woman, he cannot see the man. But now, what are you speaking? We have to check on that also. If you are speaking something which is like romantic, things to understand it, it's not allowed. But now you have to, when you're speaking between men and women, there should be way of speaking and the etiquette of speaking in a way that it should only be direct, especially when it is non-mahram. It should be direct. Direct, what I mean when you say direct is that now, like, let us take an example. A woman says Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The man says Aleikum salam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The woman now is the one who wanted to talk with that man and say that I want sugar from your shop. The man said, okay, how much kilo do you want? The woman says, I want 5 kilograms. The man says, okay, it will be 900 shillings. Then the woman said, okay, just send it here and I'll give the money. Finished. Jazakallah Kheir. Story finished. Don't go, ahead, say, sometimes the people, they do, this is not correct. Again, we have to see that the woman says, Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The man says, Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And you find that the woman says that, how are you? It has been a long time, you have not been seen. The man says, no, it has been also a long time. I have been working a lot of my jobs here around here. The woman said, oh, I've been really missing you. So you can say that now, when you're talking about these things, really you are distracting the attention of the Muslim men believer. That the women also, they should take care when they are talking in the phones or in WhatsApp or in Facebook. When they are talking privately or publicly, they should be talking in a fun, nice way. And it should be direct talking. Direct talking. When we talk about direct talking, is like the way it is mentioned in the Quran about the story of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, when he talked with the 2 daughters of another prophet. Okay, so we find that there should be known for us the way we are talking. When we're talking with women, it should be directly. Okay. So, alhamdulillah, I can say that we have taken a lot of time when talking about the question number 2. Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, Ibn Atiyah, he says that he makes no mention of the verse being general for all women, rather his commentary, it follows the natural linguistics, which are specific to the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, Ibn al-Jawzi, he says he makes no mention of the verse being general for all women, rather his commentary follows the natural linguistics, which are specifics to the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Also, Ibn al-Baz, he makes no mention of the verses being general for all women, rather his commentary follows the natural linguistic, which are specifics to the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Al-Qurtubi, he indicates that the rulings, they are general for all women. So you can see that Ibn al-Razi, Ibn al-Jawzi, Ibn Atiyah, he says that this verse of staying at home for the women and talking behind a curtain, it is only for the wives of the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And Al-Qurtubi say that this is for all women. All women should stay at home except go out except when there's a need, and they should speak behind a curtain with the men. And can see that there are two rulings, alhamdulillah. So I want to still go on and mention also other like Imam as-Sututi. He makes no mention of the verse being general for all women. Rather, his commentary follows the natural linguistics which are specific to the wives of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Now I will go now to the hadith, and also I will mention about the hadith of now when we come to the part of hadith, what does hadith says about regarding the tafsir of those verses, or also regarding the point that you're talking on about, and that is hijab, talking with men, or women talking with men. And we said that Ibn Hajar radiallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with him, he narrates the hadith in his commentary on Al-Bukhari, that this verse which says to stay in your homes, it is in reality to the wives of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, since Salama used to say, I won't be moved by a camel's back until I am reunited with the Holy Prophet ﷺ. So that's in Al-Fath Al-Bari, you can see it in there. So we can see that Ibn Hajar also, he is saying that the staying of the homes, it is just specific to the wives of the Holy Prophet ﷺ. Okay, and it's also narrated in most of the historical commentaries how after the verse of hijab was revealed, Umar, he saw Sauda radiallahu anhu, the wife of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, walking around outside for some reason, and asked her why she is outside. She went and asked the Prophet ﷺ about Umar's rebuking her, and he responded, God has permitted you to go out if you need to. That is in Sahih Muslim. So you can see that in this hadith also, they were permitted to go out. So there is no problem for the women to go out unless there is need to. That is not very much important. Okay, and it's also narrated in many sound narration that after the loss of the battle of the camel, led by Aisha radiallahu anhu, she would cry when reading the verse about staying in the house. So she will cry because of the fact that she really did battle outside of his house, or can say that where you find that she didn't follow that verse the correct way. She is not needed to go for a battle, that's very much important. Like, she's not needed for her to work, but she went, so she was crying about that thing. Okay, and also now we find that very much important to know about this thing. Now, one might be asking now, is it still allowed for these Muslims to preach? And for that reason, I want to just mention about one hadith, about her face. Should it be covered or not? Because also this is another question that was asked to me, but bidnillahi ta'ala I will answer that one also later. But in Surah Al-Nur, the men and women, they were commanded to lower their gaze, since the face it is apparent. So if that is to be approved for men not watching a female speaker, then that will also prevent women from watching a male speaker. Okay, that is the way. And the vast majority of scholars, they say that the face and the hands of women, they are not from her aura, but should still not be stared at. But you find that there's some scholars, they say that it is her aura. There's different opinion about, still again, about this fact. Alhamdulillah, I'll explain this more about niqab inshallah later in our lessons, inshallah. This is in our special question answer session, okay? But you find that in this thing, you find that is a woman voice her aura, and Hanafis, Ibn Abidin al-Dar al-Muqtadi, like her face and hands, her voice is not of her aura. Malikis, they say that in Hashiyat al-Dasuki is say that the woman's voice is not of her aura, since we have so many female scholars of hadith, and can only be of her aura if a man is attracted by it, so then it will be disliked to listen to it. It is the well established opinion that her voice is not her aura, as mentioned by Al-Adawi. Shafi in Majmu al-Nawawi say that it was said that Al-Qadi Hussein was asked if the woman's voice is of her aura, and he answered that both opinions are found in school, but that the more correct is that it isn't her aura. Hanbali, they say that Insaf al-Madawi say that it is the more correct opinion that the voice of a woman is not of her aura. Now Dr. Suad Sali, who is the previous Dean of Islamic Law at Azhar University, says that there is nothing wrong with a female scholar teaching a mixed gathering, since it is well established that the great women scholar past did so, but it is required for the women to cover their aura, and in that we say that she should wear niqab if she is preaching in a mixed gathering, or at least she can put a curtain between, it should be a barrier between the female scholar who is preaching and the mixed gathering. That is better. So there is nothing in a scripture that will prohibit a modest woman of knowledge and character to preach to the masses, and that is the way. We find that also Dr. Suad Salih similarly negates the claim that a woman's voice is of her aura, since the Quran did ask us to ask the wives of the Holy Prophet ﷺ behind a curtain, thus hearing their voice. And she also reminded us that there were thousands of female scholars of hadith and fiqh who taught many men, and the verse does not prohibit all speech, rather it forbids a sweet, soft, toned voice. Okay, so there should be forbidden. You should not use, the women should not use a sweet, soft toned voice that may be seen as attractive. Okay, as it is mentioned in Surah Al-Ahzab verse 32, that if you are to be a pious, then do not speak in a soft, sweet tone, which could lead a person with a diseased heart to get the wrong idea. Now find that there are many fatwas given regarding this, and in that regard, Dr. Hussam Al-Farfur and Dr. Abdul Hamid Al-Ubaidi, both professors of comparative jurisprudence in Iraq and Syria, as well as the great scholar Muhammad Al-Didaw Al-Shankiti, they agree with that fatwa that they are allowed to preach. And alhamdulillah, I have discussed this question that was asked by a brother who he said that he wanted a very big explanation. Alhamdulillah, I've done my best to give a very much detailed explanation of, is a woman allowed to preach in public or not? And we find that alhamdulillah there are difference of opinion, and When there is a difference of opinion, you have to take the opinion which is correct and which is more closer to the Quran and Sunnah. And I will encourage my sisters that if they are, scholars of themselves, then I will encourage them, alhamdulillah, to teach, alhamdulillah, in a way that is best. They know now you put a niqab, alhamdulillah, you cover even your hands, alhamdulillah, if you want, alhamdulillah, shukrullah, and together with that, that's the best, alhamdulillah, and you can now preach the mixed gathering. That is now the way that is closer to the Quran and Sunnah, in a way that you are covering yourself. But now, alhamdulillah, we will say that we should not be doing like this. We should not be taking their pictures or videos of the women. Should not be taking the videos and the pictures of women, but you can take the audio. At least audio recording, it's not very much bad, alhamdulillah. And if now the women speaker or women scholar is preaching in public, she can do it, alhamdulillah, but she should be having niqab, covering her hands also, alhamdulillah. It will be better, I'm saying, alhamdulillah. And also all her aura should be covered, and she should do it in the best way possible, not talking with a sweet, soft tone. And if I can say that it is better now to use even a curtain, so that nobody can see her. That is now the best and the better and the best. I can say the best thing. Put a curtain. That will be the better and best thing that she can do. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, this question, it has taken a lot of time of ours, alhamdulillah, but we go now to question number 3. Question number 3, it says, is it allowed to have a mixed WhatsApp group? A mixed WhatsApp group, alhamdulillah. This is also a very important question, mixed WhatsApp group, because people, they say that free mixing, it is not allowed in the deen of Islam. So I put the mahram and the non-mahram together in one group, bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. So my brothers and sisters, talking about having a mixed WhatsApp group, I want to start by mentioning that when you come to this social media, it really gives very much complexities when it comes to interaction between people. And you find that the Muslim also, they are no exception, and you find that the halal or haram set of questions, they come in regard into these things. And the youth groups, you find that they usually ask a lot of questions. Is it permissible for Muslim men and women to communicate on the same group chat, and to what extent? What are the kind of words and messages that are permissible? In other words, what is an acceptable tone in this form of communication? Is it okay to send emoticons and memes to express one's emotional status, and to what extent? So should there be any limit or curfew on what to send, instant messages, or use the service? We find this a doubtful matter. This is a doubtful matter, and that is why you say that I'm not going to say that it is halal or it is haram, because I am in no way qualified to answer this question, as I am not a mufti or a scholar of high degree. But I'll try to solve your problem, alhamdulillah, in a way that at least it is best. And to begin with, I will start with the hadith of Nu'man bin Bashir radiallahu anhu. He said that the permissible matters, the Prophet said that the permissible matters in Islam, they are clear, and the unlawful matters, they are also clear, but between the two of them, there are doubtful matter about which many people, they do not know. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said that many people do not know and they cannot differentiate in doubtful matter, but the same statement is suggests that some people, they do know about these matters. And you find that I will try to shed some light on this doubtful matter when it comes to group chats, and I'll not try to give my fatwa here. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala, he said a beautiful statement that the Salaf, who the righteous predecessors of the Muslim Ummah, they avoided calling anything haram except on non-matters that were clearly and explicitly mentioned. So what is the practical implication of this? The scholar, they used to answer most of the question by saying do this and don't do that, because this is what you find matters at the end, you know. The essence, you find that of your question, my brother, should be an action item. You are expected, the moment you gain any new knowledge, to use it as for your action and not only for your information. So my dear brother, sister, let's hold off on our endless halal or haram discussion and we focus on the action items. When Umar bin al-Khattab, he was the Caliph of the Muslims, an interesting matter happened that relates to the halal or haram discussion, and he sent a letter to Huzaifa bin al-Yaman after appointing him as a wali on al-Madain, a city in Iraq. Huzaifa, he married a lady from the people of the book, Christian or Jewish, according to some narration, and Umar asked Huzaifa to divorce her. Huzaifa replied that he will not do so until Umar says clearly if what he did was halal or haram. And Umar, he replied back by saying it is indeed permissible to marry from the people of the book, but their women, they are more eloquent in speech and hence they are more deceitful. And other narration, they quote Umar saying they are more attractive than Arabian women, and this might cause other men to follow your example and stop marrying from the Arabs. And a third narration mentions a further elaboration to Umar's viewpoint, saying that because I am afraid that you may marry a prostitute from amongst them, and that is why Umar, he told Huzaifa to divorce him, to divorce that woman. 3 reasons, but they are narration, you can see the narrations. So you understood that the Quran, it restricted such marriages to those women who are chaste from among the people of book, okay, as it is in Surah Al-Ma'idah. So what does this teach us? Umar, he was issuing a presidential mandate from his position as the Amir of the believers, not a fatwa. He didn't give a fatwa, it is halal. No. Just say divorce. It was an advice. He was a visionary leader who understood the social consequences that may result when a leader like Huzaifa performs a controversial action, even if it was halal. He definitely has the authority to command someone, especially a Muslim activist and a role model like Huzaifa. It is worth mentioning here that Umar's statement should not be understood as a generalization towards all women from the people of the book, since the narration clearly mentioned the historical context in which it was used. Following that first step, my brothers and sisters, of Umar anhum, any Muslim leader, he is allowed, at least theoretically speaking, to instate by laws or regulation that may limit the freedom of his or her volunteers, and the details of the decision-making mechanism that are beyond their scope. Okay, and what are the factors that should be considered before creating these bylaws for group chats, and to what extent is this issue problematic or obvious? Was the best way to describe a topic through the lens of the Book of Allah and the General Guide of Islam? You find that this is important, and that is why bi-idhnillahi ta'ala, when we come to discuss about this thing, it is very much important for us to know. When we come to the issue of mixing is what? It is like a meeting together. You are mixing and you are intermingling between the men and the women in one place. You're meeting maybe in a room, that crowding of them together, and the revealing and the exposure of women to men that are prohibited by the law of Islam. And these acts, we find that they are prohibited because they are among the causes for fitna, their temptation or their trial, which implies evil consequences, the arousing of desires, and the committing of indecency and wrongdoing. And alhamdulillah, when we come to the prohibition of this meeting and mixing of men and women in the Quran and Sunnah, we go to verse 53 of Surah Al-Ahzab. Interpretation says that for anything you want to ask them from before a screen that makes for greater purity for your hearts and for them. So find that there should be a screen. Now when we come to WhatsApp, there is a screen also. That one, you don't know which woman you are talking on about. Even you don't hear the voice. So in that case, it becomes allowed to be mixed in a group. Okay, it is allowed. Now I'm not saying it is let us make sure. I just say it's allowed, as long as there are some now conditions. I'm gonna put alhamdulillah here bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Just hear the conditions, and this will help us to understand it correctly. So I want you to hear the conditions necessary. Now let me just make it sure that WhatsApp, it is not haram itself, but now we are talking now about the group. So you asked, is it allowed to have a mixed WhatsApp group? Now we say that WhatsApp group, it should have these 9 or 10 conditions. Number 1 is that there should be no usage of vulgar language or abuses language here. Very importantly, alhamdulillah, there was one day that it happened in Dawah group. They were using this language, and I really had to remove those people. Because of their usage, I didn't allow them even to enter back into our group, because they are using the vulgar language, they are using abuses. And you find out, why am I saying that this thing can result to haram happening? Because this when having the mahram, the non-mahram, when they are now abusing between each other, then what happen is that the people, they become very much emotional, and then they private chat, and then you find that right, sorry, and then you don't know what happened next. And may Allah forgive us all. That is the first thing. They should not be used in that group that we are going, where it's a mixed one. You have to see that the group, it is not using vulgar language. And as well as it should be, number 2, an Islamic group. It should be an Islamic group, and alhamdulillah, that's why I say that Islamic group, it has the guidelines of Islam rules there. In a rules, like alhamdulillah, we have to see that it has Islamic rules. Okay. Number 3. So you have to know, you have to go to Islamic group. Now, there was another group here I had. It's called Islamic Date Group. Islam Date Group, and this group, this type group, they are dating. This group is haram. Okay, this type of groups is haram. Number 3 thing is that there should be no use of sweet romantic languages. There should not be usage of sweet romantic languages. And in a group like this, we find that Dawah group, alhamdulillah, we don't use any type of these languages. How we should be talking between the men and women: say Assalam, Aleikum, Warahmatullahi, Wabarakatuh, Jazakallah Kheir, Alhamdulillah, may Allah bless you, only that. Don't come and say, hey, you are very nice, so we go, there should not be usage of sweet romantic languages. Number 4th thing is that we should not have public chats between men and women. We usually want to avoid the public chats happening between men and women, because when they become friends in that group, then you find that they go and they privately talk, and it may result to something bad. So you want a group in which you find that we don't have public chats. So public chats should be avoided. If there's a public chat, we should remove those type of people. Number 5th one, block if someone disturbs you. This is very much important. There is groups, you find that the men, when they enter into a group, a mixed group, alhamdulillah, they say the Islamic, they try to find now Muslims, they want to talk to them, want to disturb them, and to disturb the Muslim women. So you find that if you see someone disturbing you, block them, and they will not disturb you. Block them, okay. Number 6 thing is that do not put any picture in your status, in your profile photo. Even in the status nowadays, we have status, so don't ever put any picture. Even if you have put niqab, no, don't put it. Don't put, even if you have niqab or you have, no, don't ever put any of a picture in the profile picture or even in the status, okay. Another thing I can really tell you that you should be avoiding, because if you put in the Dawah group or if you put in your profile picture, the men, they may do bad things. They want to talk with you, and so we say block them, okay. Also, you have to say that keep your number as private as possible. You have to keep your number as private as possible, in a way that you don't put any picture, you don't put any much of your status. You have to be secret, private person. Don't talk too much in the group. Only talk when it is required. You only talk when it is required. So these are ruling now. They're very much important ruling. When you do that, then you find that the mixing it is allowed. Also, you should not send any pic which are very indecent in a group. When you find that if you go to a group which are sending indecent pics, that means this is a group you find that they are trying to expose themselves and resort to bad things and bad behavior. You should go out of that group, and in that group where is mixing happening and they are sending indecent pictures, go out immediately. Also you yourself, you should not be sending indecent pictures of yours, of your body. No, please don't send. Only send beneficial messages. You go to the group which is only sending beneficial messages. Deen, you're learning the Deen of Islam, like here Dawah group, learn tafsir courses, you learn about fabricated hadith, you learn about the question answer session, alhamdulillah, some few lectures, okay. So only send beneficial messages. You go to a group which are sending beneficial messages, because if they're sending beneficial messages, you find that there is no interaction between men and women, and this results in no mixing. Even you find that it is not very much, okay. I think you're understanding. The 10th is that no sending of audio between men and women in a group. When you find that the women, when they send their audios, we say that don't send audios, because your voice, as we mentioned here, they might, for some scholars, it's an aura. It's an aura. So we have to be considerate of the fact that we should not be sending the voices. The women should not be sending their audio voices. Another very important thing is that why Dawah group is a mixed group. Is another reason is that if we had a female scholar, we would have created a Dawah group for women. But currently we don't have any female scholar, don't have any female preacher, so it becomes difficult. The female preacher, it is very much difficult to find them. There are very few of them, and they are not ready to speak out. If we had got them, we would have put them in a separate for women group, only sisters group. But currently we don't have, and that's why we are having mixed group. Alhamdulillah, we are trying our best as possible not to have many much of interaction between men and women, and may Allah bless us. And we find that here there is no free mixing physically. We are not touching each other, we are not looking each other, we are just talking beneficial things. If you talk about beneficial thing, you can go to that group which is Islamic. So that is the important thing. Before I go to the 4th question, I can see that the time has really gone. I can really see it has really gone, and I will have to stop here. Okay, so we'll go to part 2 of it, and inshallah you will see the rest of the question being answered. So I finish this by saying subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk wa assalamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi. تناجي الله في صبر وترجو رحمة تسري فعاش القلب إخلاصا وصرت تحوم كالطير تحلق في ثقافات وتنهل من ربى الخير ترى ما زلت تذكرها
يذكر روعة الذكر فيهدي القلب ألحانا شذاها يفوح بالصدر ويصفو العلم راقرا.